I found the booking confirmation on a Thursday afternoon. My name is Claire Bennett, and I was 35 years old when I discovered my husband was planning a romantic getaway with another woman. I owned 3 boutique hotels along the California coast. My business had taken 15 years to build from nothing. My husband, Michael, was a real estate agent who made decent money. We had been married for 12 years and had no children. I thought we were happy. That Thursday, I was working from home in our study when Michael's printer started acting up. He had asked me earlier to print some documents for a client meeting. I walked over to fix the paper jam, and that is when I saw it. A booking confirmation for the Seaside Romance Resort in Malibu. 2 guests. Check-in date was 3 weeks away. The reservation was under Michael's name and credit card. At first, I thought maybe Michael was planning a surprise anniversary trip for us. Our anniversary was not for another 4 months, but maybe he wanted to do something spontaneous. Then I looked closer at the confirmation. The room was booked for 5 nights starting on a Tuesday. I worked on Tuesdays. Michael knew I could never leave my hotel on a weekday during the summer season. That was our busiest time. My stomach started to feel strange. I took the paper and sat down at the desk. The reservation included a champagne package, a couple's massage, and a romantic dinner on the beach. All the things Michael used to do for me when we first got married. But he had not planned anything romantic for us in at least 3 years. I told myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe it was for a client. Maybe he was helping someone plan their vacation. I decided to check our credit card statements online. Michael and I had always kept our finances separate because of my business accounts. But we had one joint card we used for household expenses and personal trips. I logged into the account and started scrolling through recent charges. What I found made my hands shake. There were dozens of charges I did not recognize. Expensive dinners at restaurants we had never been to together. Hotel rooms in San Francisco and Santa Barbara on weekends when Michael said he was at real estate conferences. Jewelry purchases from stores I had never heard of. Flowers were delivered to an address I did not know. The charges went back almost 8 months. Thousands and thousands of dollars spent on someone who was not me. I felt like I could not breathe. My chest got tight, and my vision got blurry. I called my best friend Hannah immediately. She answered on the second ring. I could barely get the words out because I was crying so hard. Hannah lived 20 minutes away and told me she would be right over. While I waited, I kept staring at those credit card charges. Each one felt like a knife in my heart. Michael had been lying to me for months. Maybe longer. When Hannah arrived, she hugged me and let me cry on her shoulder. Then she sat me down and made me tea. She asked to see everything I had found. I showed her the hotel booking and the credit card statement. Hannah got very quiet as she read through it all. Then she looked at me with angry eyes and said we needed to find out who this other woman was. She was right. I needed to know who had stolen my husband. Hannah helped me create a plan to investigate. First, we looked at the flower delivery charges. I called the flower company and pretended to be confirming a delivery address. The woman on the phone gave me the address without asking any questions. It was an apartment complex about 30 minutes from our house. Then Hannah suggested we check Michael's phone records. I had access to our cell phone account online since I paid the bill. I logged in and pulled up Michael's call and text history for the past 3 months. There was one number he texted and called constantly. Sometimes 20 or 30 times a day. I did not recognize the number. Hannah told me to reverse search it online. When I typed the number into Google, a name popped up. Brittany Walsh. Age 26. I felt sick. I searched for Brittany Walsh on social media and found her immediately. Her Instagram was public and full of photos. She was young and pretty with long blonde hair. She worked as a dental assistant and loved posting selfies. I scrolled through her recent photos and my heart stopped. There were pictures of her wearing jewelry that I recognized from those credit card charges. Pictures of her at the same restaurants Michael had taken her to. But the worst picture was from 2 weeks ago. It showed Brittany holding up her left hand to the camera. On her ring finger was a diamond engagement ring. The caption said, "He finally asked. I said yes to forever. Wedding planning starts now." There were dozens of comments congratulating her. My husband had proposed to another woman while still married to me. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. Hannah stayed with me all day. She wanted to call Michael and scream at him, but I stopped her. Something inside me had shifted. I was not just sad anymore. I was angry. Really angry. Michael thought he could throw away 12 years of marriage for some 26-year-old girl. He thought he could use our money to wine and dine her. He thought he could propose to her and plan a romantic honeymoon. All while I worked my tail off running 3 hotels. I had built my business from nothing. I had supported Michael when he was starting his real estate career. I had been a good wife to him. And this was how he repaid me. Hannah saw the look on my face and asked what I was thinking. I told her I was thinking about revenge. Cold, calculated revenge. She smiled and said she was in. That night after Hannah left, I sat in my study and made a plan. Michael had booked their honeymoon at Seaside Romance Resort. I knew the owner of that hotel. His name was Thomas Bradford, and we had met at hospitality industry conferences many times. We were friendly competitors in the boutique hotel business. I picked up my phone and called Thomas. When he answered, I told him I had a business proposition for him. We met for coffee the next morning at a cafe halfway between our hotels. I told Thomas everything. About Michael's affair, about the engagement ring, about the honeymoon booking. Thomas listened with his mouth open in shock. Then I made my offer. I wanted to buy Seaside Romance Resort from him. I offered him $5 million, which was above market value. Thomas was planning to retire soon anyway. Thomas asked me why I wanted to buy his hotel so suddenly. I told him the truth. I wanted to own the hotel where my cheating husband was bringing his mistress. I wanted to be there when they checked in. I wanted to personally welcome them and watch Michael's face when he realized what was happening. Thomas was quiet for a long minute. Then he started laughing. He said it was the most brilliant revenge plan he had ever heard. He agreed to sell me the hotel on one condition. He wanted to be there when Michael and Brittany checked in to see the look on their faces, too. I shook his hand and we had a deal. My lawyer drew up the paperwork that same week. Within 10 days, I was the new owner of Seaside Romance Resort in Malibu. Michael had no idea what was coming. Buying the hotel was the easy part. The hard part was acting normal around Michael for the next 2 weeks. I had to pretend everything was fine. I had to smile at him across the dinner table. I had to sleep in the same bed as him, knowing he was planning to leave me for Brittany. It was the hardest thing I had ever done. But I kept my eyes on the prize. Michael had no clue that I knew anything. He thought he was being so clever and sneaky. He kept making up excuses about why he would be gone for a week. He told me he had a big real estate deal in San Diego and would need to stay down there to close it. I nodded and acted disappointed that he would be gone. Inside, I was counting down the days until I could see the look on his face. During those 2 weeks, I got everything ready. I hired a new manager for Seaside Romance Resort, so I could personally handle the front desk on the day of Michael's check-in. I had business cards printed with my name and the hotel logo. I made sure the hotel staff knew exactly what was happening and what to expect. Most of them thought it was hilarious and were excited to be part of it. I also contacted a divorce lawyer and had papers drawn up. Everything was in order. I informed my other 2 hotel managers that I would be at the Malibu property for a few days, handling a special situation. They knew about Michael's affair and supported me completely. Hannah came over the night before Michael's trip to help me pack. I was staying at my newly purchased hotel to personally oversee Michael's vacation. The morning Michael left for his fake business trip, I kissed him goodbye at the door. He had his suitcase packed and his phone in his hand. He told me he would call me when he got to San Diego. I told him to have a safe drive and that I loved him. He said he loved me too. I watched him pull out of the driveway and wondered how he could lie so easily. How could he look me in the eyes and say he loved me when he was driving to pick up his mistress? I waited 30 minutes after he left, then I got in my car and drove to Malibu. The drive took about 2 hours. When I pulled up to Seaside Romance Resort, Thomas was waiting outside for me. He gave me a big hug and welcomed me as the new owner. We walked inside together, and I took my place behind the front desk. Michael and Brittany were scheduled to check in at 3 o'clock that afternoon. I had the entire staff ready. The hotel photographer was prepared to capture every moment. Thomas sat in the lobby pretending to read a newspaper, but really he was waiting for the show. I wore my best business suit and had my hair and makeup done perfectly. I wanted to look successful and powerful when Michael walked through those doors. At 2:55, my heart started pounding. I kept my face calm and professional. At exactly 3 o'clock, the front doors opened. Michael walked in first, pulling 2 suitcases. Brittany walked in right behind him, giggling at something on her phone. She was wearing a sundress and big sunglasses. They looked like any other happy couple on vacation. They had no idea their world was about to explode. Michael walked up to the front desk with a big smile on his face. He still had not looked up at me. He was too busy looking around at the hotel lobby and telling Brittany how nice everything was. He put his credit card on the counter and said, "Checking in for Bennett, Michael Bennett." That was when he finally looked up at my face. I will never forget the expression that came over him. His smile disappeared. His eyes went wide. His mouth fell open. All the color drained from his face. He looked like he had seen a ghost. I smiled my biggest, brightest smile and said, "Welcome to Seaside Romance Resort, Mr. Bennett. I am Claire Bennett, the owner of this hotel. We are so happy to have you and your guest here with us today." My voice was sweet as honey, professional and polite, but my eyes were ice cold. Brittany finally looked up from her phone and noticed something was wrong. She looked at Michael's shocked face, then looked at me. She clearly had no idea who I was. Michael stood frozen like a statue. He could not speak. His mouth was opening and closing, but no words came out. I kept smiling and said, "Is there a problem with your reservation, Mr. Bennett? I show here that you booked our honeymoon suite for 5 nights. How wonderful. Congratulations on your upcoming wedding." I looked directly at Brittany when I said that. She smiled and said thank you. Then she asked Michael why he looked so weird. Michael finally found his voice. It came out as a whisper. He said, "Claire, what are you doing here?" I tilted my head and acted confused. I said, "I work here, Michael. Actually, I own here. I own this entire hotel." The realization hit Brittany at the same moment. Her face changed from confused to horrified. She looked at me, then at Michael, then back at me. She said, "Wait, are you his wife?" I nodded and said, "Yes, I am. Or I should say I was. The divorce papers will be served to Michael tomorrow morning." I pulled out a folder from under the desk and slid it across the counter. Inside were copies of the divorce papers, along with printouts of all the credit card charges, the flower deliveries, and screenshots from Brittany's Instagram showing the engagement ring. Michael picked up the folder with shaking hands. Brittany grabbed his arm and said, "Michael, what is she talking about? You said you were divorced." Michael did not answer her. He just stared at the papers in his hands. I said, "Actually, Brittany, Michael and I are still very much married. We have been for 12 years. The lobby had gotten very quiet. Other hotel guests were watching the drama unfold. Thomas was grinning from his seat by the window. The hotel staff behind me were trying not to laugh. Brittany started yelling at Michael. She called him a liar. She said he told her he was divorced and that his ex-wife lived in another state. She said he proposed to her 2 months ago, and they were planning a wedding for next spring. Michael tried to calm her down, but she was furious. She ripped the engagement ring off her finger and threw it at him. It bounced off his chest and fell on the floor. She screamed that she never wanted to see him again, and ran out of the hotel crying. Michael bent down to pick up the ring. When he stood back up, he looked at me with desperate eyes. He said, "Claire, please, I can explain." I held up my hand to stop him. I said, "There is nothing to explain, Michael. You have been having an affair for at least 8 months. You proposed to another woman while married to me. You stole thousands of dollars from our joint credit card to pay for your relationship with her. You booked a honeymoon with her using money that should have been for our household expenses. You are a cheater and a liar and a thief." My voice was steady and strong. I felt no tears. I felt no sadness. I just felt powerful. Michael tried to reach across the desk toward me, but I stepped back. He said, "I made a mistake. A huge mistake. But we can work through this. I love you. I have always loved you." I laughed. It was a cold, bitter laugh. I said, "No, Michael. You loved my money and my success. You loved having a wife who paid the bills while you played around." Michael's face changed from desperate to angry. He said, "You think you are so perfect, Claire? You were always too busy with your hotels to pay attention to me. You cared more about your business than your marriage." I nodded slowly. I said, "You are absolutely right, Michael. I did care about my business. Do you know why? Because I built it with my own 2 hands. I worked 70-hour weeks to create something successful. And where were you during all those years? You were by my side, claiming to support me. You said you were proud of me. You said you understood that building a business takes time and sacrifice. But really, you were just resentful. You were jealous that I was more successful than you. So you found a 26-year-old girl who thought you were impressive. Someone who did not know you like I did." Michael had no response to that. He knew I was right. I continued, "Here is what is going to happen, Michael. You are going to leave this hotel right now. You are going to go home and pack your things. You are going to move out of our house by the end of the week. My lawyer will contact you about the divorce proceedings. Since California is a no-fault divorce state, we will split our assets 50-50. But do not even think about trying to get any of my business. I owned all 3 hotels before we got married, and I kept them separate from our marital assets. You will get half of the house and half of our shared accounts. That is it." Michael started to argue, but I held up my hand again. "If you try to fight me on this, I will make your life miserable. I have evidence of everything. The affair, the credit card fraud, all of it. I will make sure everyone in your professional network knows what kind of man you really are." Michael picked up his suitcases and turned to leave. Then he stopped and looked back at me one more time. He said, "I really did love you once, Claire." I looked him straight in the eyes and said, "I loved you too, Michael. I loved you enough to support your dreams and build a life with you. You threw that away for a fling with a girl who just wanted your money. Now you have neither of us. I hope it was worth it." Michael walked out of the hotel, without another word. I watched him go and felt absolutely nothing. No sadness. No regret. Just relieved that he was finally out of my life. Thomas came up to the front desk and gave me a high five. The hotel staff clapped and cheered. One of the housekeepers brought me a glass of champagne. I raised the glass and made a toast. To new beginnings and getting rid of trash. The video of Michael and Brittany's confrontation in my hotel lobby went viral. One of the guests had recorded the whole thing on their phone and posted it on social media. Within 2 days, it had millions of views. People were calling me a hero and praising me for standing up to my cheating husband. News outlets picked up the story. I was invited to do interviews on morning talk shows. My hotel got so much publicity that we were booked solid for the next 6 months. Business was better than ever. Michael, on the other hand, became infamous. His real estate company fired him because they said he brought negative attention to their brand. His family disowned him for embarrassing them. His friends stopped talking to him. He had lost everything. Meanwhile, I was thriving. I had never felt freer and happier in my entire life. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. Michael did not fight me on anything. He knew he had no leg to stand on. He took his half of our shared assets and disappeared. I heard through mutual friends that he moved to another state to start over. I did not care where he went as long as he stayed out of my life. Brittany also left town. Apparently, she was too embarrassed to stay after the video went viral. People recognized her everywhere she went. Some called her a home wrecker. Others felt sorry for her because Michael had lied to her too. Either way, she wanted nothing to do with either of us. The engagement ring that she threw at Michael in my hotel lobby? He tried to return it to the jewelry store, but they would not take it back. He ended up selling it online for half of what he paid. 6 months after the divorce, I was doing better than I ever imagined. I had expanded my hotel business and was looking at properties in Oregon and Washington. My personal life was good too. I had started dating someone new. His name was Andrew, and he owned a restaurant in Santa Barbara. We met at a business networking event and hit it off immediately. Andrew was kind, honest, and supportive of my career. He was everything Michael was not. Hannah loved him, and said I deserve someone who treats me right. I was not rushing into anything serious. I was taking my time and enjoying getting to know someone who actually respected me. For the first time in years, I felt genuinely happy. The weight of a bad marriage was finally off my shoulders. I could breathe again. Looking back on everything that happened, I realized that discovering Michael's affair was the best thing that could have happened to me. Yes, it hurt. Yes, I felt betrayed and angry and sad. But it also set me free. I had been in a marriage someone who did not appreciate me or value what I brought to the relationship. I had been working hard to build a life with someone who was secretly tearing it down. Now I was free to live my life on my own terms. I was successful, independent, and strong. The night that Michael checked into my hotel with his mistress could have been the worst night of my life. Instead, I turned it into my greatest victory. I bought the hotel, confronted them both, and took back my power. Some people might say revenge is petty, but I say standing up for yourself and refusing to be disrespected is powerful. Michael thought he could have